had people that came in asking,
You just like
brain freeze killing your pet. And I was just like,
3 fingers.
you're killing them.
What am I swiping at? What am I swiping away?
hold on.
I'm sorry.
I'm so used to swiping. I'm sorry. There.
Can we share
Are we
yet?
live or is this
And we
still
should be
countdown?
live because this is the fun
Oh, yeah.
part.
I think we're live. I think it is live.
Are we live?
It looks, yeah.
This is the outtakes in the background. What's happening behind the scenes is the best. Still need to know how to share. Do I go to your page on Facebook
Yes.
and then share from there?
25th year of broadcasting. Tune in live or visit the archives at newsforthesoul.com. That's newsforthesoul.com.
News for the soul.
Next on News for the Soul Radio, it's time for Purrrfectly Holistic with Pam. Pam is a cat mom and holistic health seeker who, after suffering an injury that wouldn't heal, was led on a journey to seek out alternatives, holistic and natural medicine. She now shares what she learned, helping people and their
I
cats
shared
along
it in
their
my
path to
personal
holistic
page.
health. Pam has taken courses in holistic health for animals, muscle testing, and animal communication. Please welcome Pam back to News for the Soul.
Welcome from Las Vegas. We're at SuperZoo. I'm so excited to be with you guys tonight. We have a great roundtable with 6 major industry professionals, and we are so excited to have you all. Thank you. I just want to go around the table real quick and just let you guys introduce yourself in just brief form. For those people who have never seen you before, perhaps, although you're kind of famous.
Stop.
You're kind of famous.
I know.
Don't
Just
jinx us
a
before we
little
even get
But
started.
anyway, yeah, Tina, start with you. Just
Oh,
where
yay.
you're from and
Oh, yay.
Throw me under the bus. No. Hi, everybody. Janet Cesarini. I'm the owner and general manager at Puppology in Georgetown, Texas, just a little bit north of Austin, Texas. And our focus is on teaching people about people being pet parents about better nutrition, because when we feed our pets better nutrition, they feel better, their health is better. So we focus on gut health and what's in the bowl. And it's easier to do than we think.
Yes. Awesome. Okay,
I'm Gwen Campbell. I am known as Dr. Judy Morgan's daughter, but I'm also the Chief Operating Officer of Naturally Healthy Pets, which is our online platform. So we do e-commerce, which is a selection of naturally healthy products for cats, dogs, chickens, and horses. And we also have an online platform for educational content. And we offer tons of free resources and stuff for pet parents to learn more about naturally healthy pets.
You make killer videos too.
Yes.
all right.
I'm Dr. Ryan Young. That's the first and last time I'll use doctor in front of my name.
Oh my gosh, please don't. No, Dr. Ryan. Dr.
Dr.
Ryan.
Ryan.
I'm a board certified companion animal nutritionist. I actually have my PhD in companion animal nutrition as well as my master's. I've done a lot of formulation for the industry for both cats and dogs.
And we're so excited for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the science guy.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I'm Adrian.
I'm Jay.
just a fangirl over here. I'm one of the 2 crazy cat ladies.
Yeah, we're the 2 crazy cat
I
ladies.
messed that all up.
Yeah.
You do it. You do it.
I'm Jay.
I'm
And
Adrian.
together we are the 2 crazy cat ladies.
Oh, there we go.
That's it. We're just crazy about cats.
And cat health and all things that have to do with cats.
Yeah, experts, for sure.
That's pushing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
We don't have all the letters.
I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So
The whole alphabet.
I love that.
there's a couple letters I'm missing, but we'll get there soon.
That's good. Well, we are super excited to be back at SuperZoo. This is an annual road trip for us. It's the highlight of the year. And it's great to network with other people in the industry and see what's new, what's coming up, see trends, learn about retail, and just be inspired and go home and be creative and do better in businesses. So one of the things that I thought would be neat to discuss with you guys as industry leaders is, share some of the biggest or most exciting things that's happened since we were here last year.
Availability of information.
And or just for, if you weren't here last year, what has been like the biggest aha or excitement
In the past year.
in the past year.
Yeah,
In your business. Absolutely. So, why don't we start with you guys?
Well, I'm with Janet, actually. I think that, the amount of information that's now available, the amount of resources that are
Yes.
available is what's really exciting, especially in the cat world for us, like coming from when we started this, there was like hardly anyone that we could find in the cat health world. And now it's like
so many new
so
resources.
many new resources coming out. Yeah. Yeah. And so much more information too.
Have there been anything like big things in your business this past year?
Making it-
A few.
Well, I don't know. What I love is that I think a lot of people, are, because there are more resources, people are able to just get more information. I know that for our business, the business side of it, our line of products, that it's the most amazing thing. And yes, we have had a lot of growth in the last year. It's really amazing though to see the impact that's having on the cats on the other end of that proactive pet parent. So that's been really exciting to see. It's been really affirming, knowing that you're on the right path
You're making
Yeah.
a
and
difference.
doing something. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exciting.
Well, obviously, when it comes to nutrition, I think you're starting to see more or less processed foods. So, right, cats typically lag behind dogs because there's more dogs. There's more of a margin of dog food than there is in cat food. And so consequently, it's usually late to the party that you're starting to see a lot of freeze-dried products and things of that nature hit the shelves, which is good. You'll start seeing University of Georgia, for example, just did a study of dogs, but they'll be doing it, other people do it in cats looking at HEs, which are mammalian reaction compounds and how they cause disease, right? And so they did work where they saw minimally processed food as well. Obviously, extruded kibble, canned food is high as it goes through all the processing. And so you'll start to see more focused research on that, and hopefully it gets through the system. I'll have a publication about benefits of flaxseed in cats and dogs.
What? Say that again.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, the benefits of
Casually.
flaxseed. So, when I was at Blue Buffalo, there was the same person who started the DCM controversy. So famously said that flaxseed is useless to cats. What they don't realize, that person included, is everything is ground before it goes into eggs. And so all that flax oil is there. And there's actually benefits for the farmer, obviously, from a microbiome standpoint. But we actually publish, or will be publishing on research, just like you're doing flax oil. So you actually have real data.
That's exciting.
That's awesome.
Especially like when it comes to cats, there's so little research, there's so
There
little
is.
science that's done. I mean, it's out there,
Yeah.
but it takes a lot of digging to find out.
I did, when I was at Hills, I actually developed an equation to predict steelhead pH based off mineral content of food that got them out of animal testing, so they could formulate to hit it. And so what you find out very quickly there, like a lot of people tell you, high meat diet is this, and what it actually comes down to is. And so what a lot of people say anecdotally is, hey, if you can't food, you have urinary issues, you can still turn that cat into a maracas with canned food, if the minerals are in there.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that, especially when you get into all life stages foods, when they're having magnesium oxide, magnesium source for kittens, you're upping that chances for an adult cat because you're adding more of the substrate. And it also drives pH. Think of like a checkbook, so magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium, so chloride, sulfur, phosphorus. So you've got the pluses. Imagine your checkbook, right? Pluses put money in the account, negatives are driving to take it out. In the case of cats, one more negatives. Typically, meats, the reason they work well is because of the sulfur in the acid. So it's the sulfur from the diet, taurine, and things like that. It's helping.
I love your brain.
I know.
Is that your checkbook?
Technically, it could be.
Could I also see your checkbook? For a friend.
I don't really like cat European, so it's a positive. So.
All I picture is a drain, my plumbing, and all the minerals, because in the Austin area, we have so high mineral content. And if you do not have a filtration system, on your home, your drain ends up getting corroded with all the minerals. And so in Puppology in the store, we talk about even filtered water, which Dr. Morgan, touched on that again recently, is, and Dr. Becker as well. But anyhow, that's all I could listen, as I was listening to you talk about the urinary tract and the stones and the maracas is a great, that's a great
Analogy,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
going to put maracas in my store next to my frozen cat food and my wet cat food, because I think, that's a great
And if
comparison.
If you Google my last name, if you want to learn PH,
Maracas?
It's an open access journal article.
Oh,
that I actually wrote.
You're being serious.
That's
Excellent.
two different equations, one for dry, one for can.
Excellent. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
Gwen.
Yeah, so Gwen, what's new and exciting in your world?
Yeah, so we definitely have been gaining a lot of traction, I think, and the main takeaway from what I've seen is that people do care and they do want to do better by their pets.
Yes.
A lot of it is, their vet told them to do X, Y, and Z, so they feel like they're following the right instructions, or they just don't know. So for us, we've really just stripped it down to the basics of just like, can we get very simple pieces of information across to people? Like we talked about how grains don't prevent DCM and like all sorts of stuff that has caused a ton of controversy, but it's just people are willing to learn. I think they're just, they just need some guidance. And so that's why, we recommend the Two Crazy Cat Ladies page all the time, because you guys do those small tips and things like that are so digestible for people.
Yes.
And that has been really what we have found, is that people care. They want to add fresh food to the bowl. They want to do better. They just need to know how to do that.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
And I'll add on that, in the past year and a half, it's very interesting to see how many of the younger generation
Yes.
Yeah.
really want
That's
to
exciting.
make a difference. It's
Yeah.
like, we always thought everybody, your different platforms or whatnot, you have the different age brackets. And we always thought that, this platform is going to be where everybody really wants to make change, like this is where we're going to make a difference. And turns out this platform, and then this platform with these young kids, they want our cute cats. Let's make cute little cat videos. Turns out it's completely the opposite. Just from like posting, right? The feedback that we get, it's amazing that the younger generation coming up is, just to see what kind of difference it's going to make in the long run in the pets' lives,
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
The interest has definitely, I feel like, at least for us, we've seen the interest peak for
Yes.
sure. And people are asking more questions. People understand that like, hey, this doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
And questioning it. And I think when we approach it from such a common sense perspective of like, hey, we all know that fresh food is good for every
Yes.
species.
Yeah.
It's good for us. It's good for
That's it.
dogs, cats, elephants, whatever. Like in the zoo, are they feeding, all their pets or all the animals kibble? No. And so when you start to have that conversation, we've found that the vast majority of people are interested and willing to do something. It might not be, organic, GMO-free, $10 a pound food, but it's at least something. They're interested and they're wanting to do better. So
That's the thing that I've seen since in the last year is the parallels between human nutrition and pet nutrition are becoming like we said in the beginning, the information is there. It's becoming more prevalent, more readily available. People are hungry, no pun intended. Maybe that was intended. They're hungry for the information, and it does make sense. And, as in our store, we get people that walk in the door constantly that I have a question and, I have a question. And we always, again, are going back to those parallels between human nutrition and pet nutrition because it makes sense. And you would know because it's true. It rings true. It's just,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
and just getting them to make small changes. I heard a statistic today as Pam and I were sitting in some of the seminars, and the speaker was mentioning that it used to take 7 times hearing the same information or seeing the same information before it would begin to get sticky like spaghetti. And now she says it's 9 to 10 times because we are on our phones and we're scrolling and everything is so fast and little blips and bits, which hats off to you guys because y'all do the little quick tips and it fits the platform and it fits it's reaching millions of people. But just the fact that she said it takes longer to reach people with the same information. We know that each time that we're talking with people, and it's been more over the last year, that we're another chance to reach them. And maybe it's not today, but we planted a seed. And that's the opening, it's starting to grow. Yes, it is. Because, the mind has to be open. And boy, that's a tough nut to crack. If you think about squirrel, yeah. Just the mind has to be open.
Actually, that one.
That's awesome. Well, what I've seen from a holistic health perspective as a practitioner is I've seen a tremendous increase in interest in looking for alternative remedies, alternative healing. They're finally waking up to the fact that the traditional, conventional veterinary model is just keeping them on a hamster wheel of disease. And it's not working. And finally, like you said, something is clicking in their mind and like, wait a minute, there's something else. And so they're online, they're searching for answers, they're searching for information to help conditions that their pets have.
Yes.
That they hadn't done before. So I think that's exciting because just the services that I offer, as well as like the alternative things like animal communication, the energy healing type of practices and stuff, people are really interested in that. And it's so exciting because you're opening their eyes to a whole new world of healing that they never existed, and they're seeing results in even just alternative medicine like homeopathy, simple, that was used for hundreds and hundreds of years before industrial medicine came into play, and somehow it was forgotten about.
Well, it became woo-woo.
Right.
It became woo-woo,
Yeah.
because it has so much negative speak from, the powers that be that want to control conventional medical model like that.
Yeah.
So, but it's cool. It's kind of having this rebirth, if you will.
Yeah.
And people are learning and they're hearing about it and they're starting to try it because they're like, holy cow, this is so much better than the
Oh, yeah.
It works faster. And it's only $9. It's
Upset the gut and
it does,
Yeah.
not set the marker. It's just really exciting because that's exciting for me, being living in both worlds as an online retailer and practitioner. So
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
I think it's interesting you mentioned that because we hired a business manager who I actually met, and I hired her at my last company, and I was begging her to come work for Judy. She finally did, but she does graphics. And so as many people have noticed, our graphics have much improved since she has joined. Because I'm an engineer, I'm not an artist.
No judgment.
Yeah. And she's fantastic. But so once we started putting things in just like a sentence or, one fact or something that was easy to absorb, we were taking those facts from Judy's blogs from 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
She's been saying these things for literally 5 years, and she's not alone, right? There's tons of other industry professionals that have been talking about this for 20 and 40 years, right? But it's just now I feel like people have the interest, they have the means to some extent, they can at least do some things, and they actually see that it makes sense.
Yeah.
Or they're willing to try it.
They're open-minded.
Yes, they're asking questions.
Open-minded.
They're asking questions, and I think that's the key. If you can plant that seed, like you said, and get them to start thinking the possibilities. That's from the quantum realm. It's what's possible versus what's physically able to see. That's exciting. They're finally open.
It's an exciting time
It is.
to be in this industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's always been a great industry, but it's just so exciting because our philosophy is do no harm. And so, Mitzi, my little multi-poo rescue, she's 12 and thought it was a urinary tract infection. And I always, go to Pam and ask her to please test her and see what you pick up on. Here's what I'm seeing as far as how she's presenting. And, she gets the same thing. And I said, okay, what do you have that I can try before I go see I see an integrative vet, and she's all on board with, Eastern medicine meeting, Western medicine. She's very new, but she's open-minded, whereas in the past, if I suggested something alternative or even asking about food, I've never received good information.
Yeah.
And I've always been, I'm not going to say that. I questioned it, but I had no place to go. And,
The thing is, right, is most people don't realize, like I tell people, if you go see a therapist or a doctor or whatever, right, dentist, you got to gel with them.
Yeah.
Or you find somebody else, right?
Yeah.
But yet, when it comes to the veterinary field, we go to the closest veterinary clinic to our house.
True.
And we just go.
Yes.
And whatever they say, we do. Nobody ever asks the question, why or what are the alternatives, right? So when
Alternatives.
they were looking, back last year, put me on cholesterol meds. I was 50 pounds heavier, right? So the doctor said, hey, we can do this. Your cholesterol's kind of high. I said,
Or, yeah.
And he goes, well, the other option is you lose weight. I said, okay, you call me a fat bastard. I'll go lose weight, right? And that's the only conversation we had to have
Yeah.
to say, okay, change your lifestyle. You don't have to put you on meds. And yet, a lot of veterinarians, they don't do that. And then the other thing that people don't realize is all those veterinarians, they take a nutrition course, which would be the equivalent of their freshman year. And it's like 6 credit hours, if that.
Yeah.
And then whatever information they get after that, obviously there are tons of big companies that make therapeutic foods. Obviously, they give them away any discounts and stuff like that at school as well. And so they're not, I don't think they're necessarily out there to do harm, but they don't
right.
know what they don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to go study it on your own.
Yeah.
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 So it's making.
And if you don't like the vet, go find
Change
another vet, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just as easy.
Yeah.
The vet I go to, most people found out he has 4 whole mastiffs, feeds them all raw.
Yeah.
Go imagine.
That's awesome.
Freezers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We have some of those customers, and they literally back up to the front steps
Yeah.
and they pop the trunk, and we just help them load it in. It is the most awesome thing. And they throw in the goat milk. They have their gut powder, as we call it. And it's like we do a happy dance. Like, it's just awesome. Even and for our customers that are not quite there yet, we're always talking about hydration, adding even freeze-dried raw, adding some kind of wet, and talk about the gut. Cannot talk enough about the gut. Just everything destroys it. Yeah. So, and that going back to your question, that circling back, let's close this and go to the next one. So circling back, yes, gut health too. In the last year,
Oh,
incredible.
Mhm.
yeah. A lot of interest in that.
We see that in our retail space, and it's remarkable. I carry a very limited, respectable, two product lines, and we're having to reorder constantly, which
That's
makes
wonderful.
me so happy.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Well, it would change my dogs' lives. My dogs were seniors, my 2 Aussies, Hank and Charlie. We're starting to have the itching. They were 10 pounds overweight. And when you have a dog that is 10 pounds overweight and a full-size standard Australian Shepherd, my customers and followers will have heard this story before, but I went in with Hank, and he was prescribed Apoquel and Hill Science Diet, satiety diet. And me and my teacher brain, I said, can you explain to me how that works? Because a food called satiety or whatever it was called, I was just like, that's weird.
High fiber load.
Yes, right. and so, and he's,
They
but
don't call it that.
High fiber, you get a lot of food.
well, this was the answer I got from my alma mater is Texas A&M. They are brilliant, and vets are brilliant. But the answer I got was, it'll make them feel full. And just sit with that for a minute. I can go eat a rice cake and I can feel full, but how much nutrition am I going to get from it? And that was my concern. It just, a light bulb went off for me. That was a pivotal point for me. And I said, but okay, let me go research that. And that's the other thing that, I'm here today to say, and like all of you guys, is start researching.
Yep.
Just what's the crime in doing that? We want to be armed with information. It makes us powerful, and we are our pet's advocate. And so I went and researched it and never turned back. Never put them on Apoquel. I never put them on Hills or any other, kibble that was in that corn.
Prescription.
Quote
Veterinary.
unquote prescription. Yeah, never. I cleaned up the gut, circling back. 10 pounds dropped. 10. The 10 I needed it fell off. And it was remarkable, the improvement in the skin and the coat. The lethargy went away. Their eyes got brighter. The fur got brighter. The licking from the allergies, gone. And then the most remarkable thing is that in my store, I have pictures of my dogs, but I also have pictures of my dog's poop. And so I always do this. I go, this is the size of my Australian Shepherd's poop. I might get 1, 2, or 3. And within a few days, it disintegrates. And that you can't make that shit up. And it is true. So all 5 of our dogs are seniors, and not that we aren't met with challenges, but gut, nutrition, the information is out there. Ask questions. Yeah, makes me excited.
So speaking of excitement, what excites you best? That was the first. What excites you best about where you see the industry going?
What I really love, I don't know, I'm so still thinking about this first question, but people being open to the information. I think a lot of times that people feel intimidated by doing their own research because they go to whatever search engine and then they feel instantly overwhelmed. And then there is always something, especially if it's something that's controversial, it's like raw food, or that you find completely different things, and then they're paralyzed and they don't make a decision. And what I find is really exciting is that there is more and more information out there. I can say, hey, there's this great article by Dr. Ryan.
Yeah.
Hey, you can go check out Pam at Purrrfectly Holistic. Dr. Judy Morgan has A, B, and C that can help with this. It's like when you start being able to help people on a roadmap of information that is all separate, but preaching the same thing, right? And showing those results. I think it's really exciting to see how much is changing. I really thought at first, when I first wrote that question, I was thinking it's the nutrition, it's the new options, it's the fact that people are starting to realize that casting a moisture-rich diet or whatever it may be. But I think that first step of information and being able to have more resources and people that are involved. I mean, Gwen, super fan, because that same thing, like when you can share something with somebody and it's giving them, it's planting that seed, or it's that last bit of information they need to pull the trigger on making a decision.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, and there's just no end to that excitement.
Yeah.
What you guys don't realize you're doing, right, is pet food is an emotional discussion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You can never win an emotional argument. So I always say to people, if you want a nice night out, don't talk religion, politics, or pet food.
I'm going to steal that one.
And so lots of times, right, when you're going and talking to people, and I'll use DC and Aqua as a great example, right? People immediately say, you're feeding grain-free, you're causing heart disease.
They're still
Nobody
saying
wants to know
Still
they're doing something bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they immediately put it on. Now, what you do is you're teaching them how to fish and learn, and ask the right questions. And so if they go out and learn on their own, and you're telling them the same exact thing, they're going to receive it in a completely different manner because they're not open to it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's
great.
beautiful.
I have my music.
We're all going to be crying and
Yeah.
Ryan telling stories at dinner.
With this, I hear soft music playing in the background.
It's so beautiful though. I'll put a pin on my answer, our answer. Tell me if you disagree. I think that so many people that have come to us are at the end of the road.
Yes.
They come to
Yeah.
cartoon-faced people because they feel they have done this cyclical thing of trying to help a suffering pet with something and they're not getting any results. They're seeing things worsen there. And then they reach out to some woo-woo girl like you, Pam.
I need some
Or
sulfur.
some cartoon heads like us.
Or cartoon heads like us that are just care about cats and it's like, please, at the they're wrong, and they're willing to almost do anything. And exactly like you said, Dr. Ryan, it's like, here's some amazing information that we've learned. Go here. I mean, I don't even know. We probably drop hundreds of links every day.
All the time. Yeah.
Because there is so much more research and resources out there that we can share that.
Yeah.
And that is amazing to be able to point people in that direction where it doesn't have to be scary. And there are things that you could, like what resonates with you. It's baby steps. It's like, what, you know, yeah.
And I recently heard that, I think it was Rodney that said it. So if probably not like the exact statistics, maybe you know the actual statistics, but
Excuse me, Dr.
that
Ryan, could you please
Dr.
pull
Ryan,
this out of
Dr.
there?
Ryan, maybe you know the real statistics. When we started in the industry, they said that it was like 96% of pet parents fed a kibble, a processed kibble diet.
Yeah.
And I heard that it's now around like 80,
What?
which is a huge,
Well,
I've not heard that. I wondered.
It might be,
probably not cats and
Kibble's
dogs.
still king or queen, depending on how you look at it.
Oh, sure.
But now that you're seeing more wet food options, so like the wet market is really blowing up.
Mhm.
All right, that's why you're seeing shortages regardless of who it is,
Mhm.
just because they run out of capacity, right?
Right.
Obviously, they have supply chain issues to certain degrees, so we can't. But the reality of it is, it's capacity, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of
Supply and
plants
demand.
out there. And so you see the shift in a lot of people doing wet food. They both dog and cat, whatever. Obviously going fresh, freeze dry. What you're doing, even though it's still a small group, is the alternative dries and raws. They're growing at a nice clip compared to kibble food without kibble.
Right.
But yeah, you see people start to venture in more, and what they may not be able to afford raw or a human grade or whatever, but what they'll do is they'll buy it and use it as a top.
Yes. Yes.
So they know, hey, you just impacted a little bit. It's
The start.
a feel-good moment for you, right?
Yeah.
And so consequently, you have a bunch of that going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so
Do you
much.
think it took the industry by surprise because they haven't adapted their manufacturing processes? And then
That's
And then we had supply chain issues, and then it's like this perfect storm.
that's interesting.
Most people won't have canning facilities just because of the ROI stinks. So
They're what?
The return on investment.
Oh.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive, and so for you to do a kibble operation, you can depreciate it and stuff within 5 to 10 years. For a canning plant, it's a lot higher unless that's what you do. And so there's a few good cameras out there that a lot of people use because it's easier to get a code than it is to build your own cameras.
But to that point, I have heard from my manufacturer's reps in the past, well, we're in August of this year, a number of them, and I won't say names, have added freeze dryers and multiple freeze
There's
dryers.
a lot
And
of them being installed this year in
Yes.
particular
Yeah,
because
it's
it blew up during COVID.
Didn't y'all hear?
Freeze dryers?
Y'all have some?
No. She started making pup loaf commercially, but it's actually, we don't make it. All Provide Pet Foods does, yeah. Yeah, Dennis basically came to us and was like, can we make your pup loaf? Or Judy's pup loaf, not mine. And she was like, if you want to do all the hard parts, sure. He was like, I would love to do that. And we're like, okay.
I gave somebody your Dr. Morgan's.
It's
I was
mine.
gonna say
Thank you,
your
Janet.
mom. I was gonna say your
Thanks.
mom. But I gave Dr. Morgan all the time. I said the pup loaf. You know, we've been through like with certain dogs, and I know there's other things going on that I may not get to the bottom of. I may not ever know. So when we've tried all the things, and oftentimes they'll say, "I'm just going to cook at home," and you know, of course, the bells and whistles go off for us in the store, because we know how important it is to be complete and balanced. And it is not, especially when you have a dog who's picky, there's an underlying reason. Whether it be something as stress and anxiety or, you know, just dysbiosis or other disease, we can't just go cook chicken and sweet potatoes and peas and green beans. And as lovely as that is, and you're doing it out of love, sometimes some desperation, we have to make sure it's complete and balanced. And so I had a customer just a couple of days ago, and I said, Dr. Morgan makes this cup loaf, and it is, you can cook it at home. It's complete and balanced. And that, we can't forget that. And if it's not her recipe, follow a recipe, and there's other, like you guys drop links all the time. I'm actually making a branded notepad because I feel like script, just plain, all the time. I do receipt paper and I write down all this stuff and I give them receipt paper, and I'm like, it needs to be something more professional that's going to not fall apart in the purse or in the bag on the way home.
Yeah.
But give out all that information constantly. If we don't have something where you find something that's complete and balanced.
One watch that I would tell you, freeze dry, it is so popular. You want to know what their kill step is. So with the company
bacteria.
the company I've worked with, they did steam sterilization, pasteurization, so it doesn't really cook the product and pulls it through so quick during vacuum. But there's a bunch of co-manufacturers regulation, you won't see the reports. So it's a watch out for people. So say if you call them up and they say it's proprietary, assume it's that.
Then, yeah.
Otherwise, if they're willing to tell you that, hey, it's an in-line process, that what they typically do is they'll freeze dry the temperature, the chamber comes up, and they'll hold it at that 160 degrees, whatever kill step, for a small period of time, so you don't get over processed. And then they kick it out. And some are carton ship it to get microwave in other states.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Very
good.
And it kind of defeats the whole purpose of minimally processed, freeze dried,
Yeah.
raw, regular,
Right.
everything's raw, all greens are raw. It just have to come out.
How about the raw kibble?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. But I mean, especially as it becomes a fad, right? As it gets bigger, just like CBD, like as
Yes.
things get more popular and more companies are doing it, then
And there's zero barrier to entry,
Yeah.
right? So if you want to make pet food
Yeah,
today,
we could do it.
we could do it, because now you can do direct to consumer. And this is why I always tell people you need to ask a series of questions.
Yes.
Formulate with the food. Is your facility you work with third-party food safety certified? So, hey, they're doing all the environmental testing, screening, make sure they're clean and all that silly stuff. Because if they have that SQF or ISO or whatever,
Yeah.
BRC, that means that that's not a pay to play. That's a third party that came in and actually said, yeah, you're doing this. So you won't get surprise salmonellas or aflatoxins, right? Which if you had a good food safety program, you should be tested.
Right.
And then the other thing is what is the nutrient composition analyzed of your food? Because you want to verify that what they think they put in is what's coming out the back end.
Right.
And a great example was Hills was doing their food safety plan properly, and they were analyzed, and they were caught by the beef. Right. In fact, the FDA, their warning letter to them said, hey, that's a great food safety plan you have together, but that's what you're supposed to be doing all along, so I can't verify if this is the corrective action or not. And so they have to, I'm still going to make that point, it's closed out, because they have to go back and do another inspection. And then the other part, which is simple, is digestibility. Right? You'll get companies that'll make excuses why they have to do digestibility, animal welfare. Well, you know what, we do animal digestibility tests every day. We clean up after our cat's litter box or pick up after our employee animals, right? Because if they don't have those answers, they're testing on the consumer's drugs, right? Because you don't know if it's adequate. And you're not required by ASCO to run those things, right? You have to be formulated to meet. You don't have to be analyzed to meet.
right.
And a lot of companies will come tell you, well, it's too expensive. Well, if it's $5 grand, you're paying
Yeah.
millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For the nutrients and the digestion.
Wow.
Got work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anybody can do it, right? It's not proprietary.
It's not about
That it's not proprietary, right? Because you can take whatever food that you're selling today, and I'll just say stone cheese, and you can send it to a third-party lab to get it analyzed. You can send it to a third-party foods place to do the digestibility test, and within 3 weeks you'll have the result. So it's like you should do it as good standard practices before you launch it.
Yeah.
especially when you get into ultimately, if anybody learned anything from PCM, right? Everybody was making heads. We don't know if peas are digestible and what's the taurine content of the food. Well, if they did nutrient compositions and digestibility and said, hey, here it is,
They know.
it would have busted everybody because we have the data, folks. What are you worried about?
Yeah.
And that would have shut that down.
Data.
Do you think that's where the industry's going?
The good people do it. The ones that haven't still don't do it. And they probably won't do it. They're not made to do it, right? So the companies that I've all worked for did historically, and the ones they do now do currently, just because it's helps me sleep at night.
Yeah, that's important.
That's important.
You're gonna have your name on something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. And you got to think too with kibble, canned food, freeze-dried food, all that stuff. They're telling you it's a 2-year or 3-year shelf life. Did you run a shelf life study to demonstrate that? Right? Because a lot of people forget that those omega-3s and omega-6 fatty acids and vitamin A, they're deteriorating, degrading over time, not sitting on your shelf. So if it's not a fast mover, or you have something that you just got, it was in paragraphs for 12 months, you only have 6 months left on it. The question is, did they demonstrate that those 18 months keep those nutrients in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about what we're excited about. Yeah, so for me, I think what I am most excited about is the younger generation, because our demographic has always been, I mean, probably like 55 plus, and mostly women. And we have seen in the last year a huge shift in the age and the gender. It's still predominantly women, but we have had more men involved. And so what that tells me is just what we're all echoing, which is people in general are more interested. And people are starting to understand the back end of the pet industry, which is, you know, Mars doesn't just own pet food, right? They own IDEX, they own BCA, they own Banfield, right? So they're infiltrating like from vet schools all the way through veterinary care, through pet food, touching the consumers. And I don't even have TV, but I watched the TV and there was 2 NexGard commercials in like the hour I was prepping for today.
Yes.
And so like stuff like that, I don't even realize that pet
It's
parents
there.
are being exposed to so much marketing and I'll call it propaganda, to be honest,
It is.
every day. And so I think it's really exciting that not only do we have a wider variety of people that are interested, but also just that people are starting to see through such successful marketing tactics for the past decade. And I mean, I've been a victim of that too, where just like when
We all have.
I had cats in college, and when I adopted my dog, I literally called up Judy and I was like, what's the hot new thing to feed your dog? And it was nothing that I found at Petco, shockingly. So, yeah, I feel like people, it's really exciting. People of all walks of life, like races, religion, ages. We have so many people across the world. I'm sure you're like all of us do, like that are interested in this. It's not just us in our little bubble. It's people are actually interested in what we have to say.
Yeah.
The bubble's
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah, it's definitely
The
growing.
curtain
It's
is getting
crazy.
pulled.
Well, and people are talking to
Point
each
back
other
here.
too, like on TikTok specifically.
Yes.
I've seen like those viral videos where they're saying, you know, this flea product killed my dog. And then, you know, somebody stitching it and saying it almost killed my cat too, you know, like, and also going viral. And it's like, people are talking about, there's more communication available, I think, to each other through these different social media platforms these days too.
The problem is, especially with flea and tick drops and everything, a lot of people don't realize that if something happens, you're supposed to report that in through
Yeah.
EPA.
Yeah.
So when they have those issues, they don't know how to tell somebody.
Right.
And so part of that
Especially when they're 14.
Yeah, like if your cat died from flea and tick medicine, usually you call the company and they'll probably write you a check to go away and you sign an NDA in the process, right, to pay for the vet bills, what have you. But if they knew that, hey, just like we would report the food or a chewable, right, flea and tick to the FDA, you need to report it this way. And that's why, once it's arrested and caught on flag by Congress and stuff, the EPA saying, hey, you didn't do your job. And so if people knew that, a lot of those things would go away because you probably start getting in a lot of these complaints, deaths and illnesses and stuff like that, because people don't report them, they go non-documented.
But we have more education to do.
Yeah.
And not only on, we're seeing more open-minded consumers and pet parents, and we're encouraging them to ask questions, to do the research, but we have to do more education, and we're guilty of that. And we do a lot of it, obviously, in store, one-on-one. That's not an efficient way to get information out, especially when you want to be impactful in a good way. And the education comes in the form of saying there are alternatives. So they don't know.
Mhm.
They do not know that there's alternatives that have been around for decades. I mean, I was there. And at the moment that I stopped doing flea and tick and heartworm, of course, I was chastised by my vets because I would visit vets. Because I was shopping vets in the industry that I'm in. I need to know who I can count on and partner with, and who sings my song. It's very difficult. Who's in my tribe, and it was online. And so now locally, like I said, I feel like I have an advocate, but I've lost my train of thought. But doing the education and letting them know that there are options. Oh, that's it. I had stopped, and I went a few years without using anything until when opening my store and researching for safe alternatives, I finally found a safer alternative.
There are answers out there.
They are. Keep searching, and we'll do a better job of educating.
Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left, so what I want to cover is, what is your best piece of advice for pet parents as it pertains to your role in the industry?
Know your source.
And never stop
So-
learning.
And never stop learning, yeah. I think, when I say know your source, I don't just mean know your source when it comes to your pet food, but know your source when it comes to the supplements, know your source when it comes to the medications, know your source when it comes to, the information that you're taking in, and do the research. Like you said, do the research to verify your source. Yeah, I think that would be
Keep learning.
ours.
And
Keep
I
it.
think that's very important.
And keep
It
learning, yeah.
is.
Because we're kind of in this information age, and there's so much information out there, and there's so many avenues to get that information now, more than ever before. So you're not limited to Google.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
You can go and find a ton of information, platforms, and social.
All you have to do is think about it and it'll show up. Like, seriously.
Talk about it out loud.
Talk about it, yeah.
It'll pop up.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's true.
Yeah,
But
that's true. Imagine what we're going to see on
Don't
our
take
phones.
someone's word for it, do your research, keep learning, because there's so much information, and it seems like it just keeps coming faster and faster. The trends in the industry are changing faster and faster.
Yeah.
Studies are coming out, new information is changing, or coming out that is changing what we thought was true 10 to 20 years ago. It's like, well, now we can do it differently. So the information, we're getting more information, we're getting better information, because technology has changed, but studies can be done. If that, I guess, we could target what you want to study a little bit better, if that makes any sense.
You're saying it's there.
It's-
Go look for
it's
it.
there. Yeah.
And you have to be judicious with it. You do have to kind of, throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks. Like you were saying, Dr. Ryan, about, calling up the pet food companies and asking them about digestibility studies. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
It's amazing.
And just
And if
the,
they won't give it to you, then don't give them your money.
that's it. If they tell you that it's proprietary, comment is BS. And it's, I think what you said, it's just a front or a screen for, no, we didn't do it.
What a crap data.
Or that. Yeah.
For me, no, I think, the key is learning. Like, my pet peeve is I hate when somebody calls me an expert, because I'm always learning to
Yeah.
this day. And
Yeah.
the day that I'm an expert, I'm going into a different field, because, right, I'm learning something new every day.
Yeah.
And that's why, when I left Blue, it wasn't that I hated kibble, it was I wanted something more challenging from a formulation standpoint. And there was gaps in that part of the industry where they weren't doing analyticals and digestibilities and stuff like that. So we needed to just gotta be careful with what you're doing, because like I said, when you compare your entry to the marketplace, you really don't know what you're getting.
I think the biggest takeaway for me, which is probably completely different from Judy's, so sorry, Judy. But for me, like maybe it's all hippie, but I feel like there really is a middle ground here. And I feel like you don't have to necessarily have to have access to a holistic vet. And unfortunately, there are some holistic vets that I don't think necessarily hit the mark, in my opinion, of what I would want in a veterinarian. But I think that we've gotten so, in general, we've gotten so caught up in, you have to 100% agree or 100% disagree.
Right.
When it comes to pet food, or say, you can't feed kibble. It's like, well, your dog can survive, or your cat can survive on kibble. Will they thrive? I don't think so. But, there, you can add fresh foods. You can do all these things to it. We don't have to say, you're a bad person because you feed your pet kibble. That just does nothing but alienates an entire gigantic segment of people that love their pets.
Right.
So for me, the biggest thing that we are trying to educate people on is how they can combine what they want and what they feel comfortable with their veterinarian's advice. And it's tricky because we're not veterinarians. If they recommend some prescription medication, you're not a veterinarian. You're not going to know what it's for or if it's a good idea or not. But there are so many things that you can do at home before you can get to the vet, with nutrition, doing vaccine titers instead of vaccinations, minimizing your flea and tick chemicals or not using them at all. I don't personally recommend using them at all. And so there's so many things that you can do at home, and then you can partner with even a traditional veterinarian to find some middle ground where you can say, this is how I want to parent my pet. I want you to help me enable them to live the longest life possible.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So that's my biggest thing. It's like, we're not all going to have access to the perfect situation. It's about how you can make it work for you and your pet.
I love that.
Oh, thanks, Jenny. It's past your bedtime. What are you doing? Oh.
Go to bed, young lady. No.
And to build on that, one of the sayings I always say, like when I did my talks here last year, nobody realized I was going for the company, right? Because I educate, I don't advocate or humiliate. So regardless of what food you feed, they should be doing digestibility, they should be doing nutrient composition, they should have a third-party food safety certification. I don't know, even $20,000 a year or $500,000 a year, so you might have money to kill, because that's all you can afford. It doesn't make you a bad pet parent, right? Because otherwise
No.
you'd be in a shelter or,
Right.
God forbid, euthanize.
Yeah.
And so that education and not advocating for a brand or humiliating them because they're on a brand is key, because they'll get there to the right foods if you educate.
That's to
We'll
build
lead with
upon.
love.
Yeah, what?
We have to lead with love.
You do,
Meet them where they
and meet everyone where they are. So I won't go into the history, but to, add to what you're saying and going back to what I'm looking forward to is just still continuing to open up minds to saying, okay, we're feeding this kibble. What can we add to the bowl? What I think the statistic is 25% of the bowl fresh or frozen and raw. Is that right, Dr. Judy?
I mean, what you're adding is better than the kibble.
That's it. We're adding some whole nutrition to the bowl. But for me, when I was writing my notes, my best advice is we have got to get the gut healthy, because it's 70-80% of the immune system lies in the gut. And that is my mission, other than, let me help you find a better dry food, one that doesn't have dyes, one that might be coated in raw, freeze dried, one that might be baked at a lower temperature. Let me just help, let us help you in adding some fresh to the bowl, but it's gut all the way. And the second thing is, my advice going forward is to not let fear drive our decisions. And information and education takes away that fear, so that we can be confident, because we do love our pets. And all of us question things that we do with and for our pets. So we're all in the same boat, or the doghouse, cat box.
We're all in the same litter
We're all
box.
in the same litter box.
have an overnight open heart, but you don't really get it.
Yep.
And this is a time to learn and learn. And then partner, you may have to have a team. You know, if you live in an area and you don't have a holistic vet or whatever, you may have to do some partnering with people online, experts online, with your local, you know, expert, with your pet food store, or whatever, and just build a community, build your team. You know, find your tribe, and then it's great, and just do the best you can with where you are, and the things that you have, and know that you love your pets, and they love you.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna sit there and criticize you, you know, for not buying organic raw food, feeding them all their life. That's not what they're here for. I really feel like they're here to teach us and give us opportunities to learn and do things. So
Love it.
that's what we are.
Yeah.
So we are gonna wrap things up. Thank you guys for joining us. It has been so much fun. Thank you, Two Crazy Catways. Thank you, Brian.
Dr. Brian,
Thank you, Janet.
you got promoted while you were here.
Dr. Ryan. Love it. But anyway, thank you guys. We'll see you next month. And until then, have a beautiful rest of your evening.
Bye, guys.
So see if you could come around to the side and just push in broadcast on the screen.
It's just like StreamYard, top right.
Top right.
The other
Top
right.
You have to use the mouse pad. Top right.
Georgie.
Like in this, okay?
Yes.
There it is, click that.
This,
No, it'll be.